the agenda setter.
Welcome, aspirants. Today, we're diving into the key headlines from December 15th, 2025. Now, if you're aiming for the 2026 exam cycle, this is absolutely crucial stuff. We're not just going to skim the news, we're going to build that essential skill of linking these dynamic current events right back to your static syllabus. This is how today's headlines become the analytical firepower you need for your mains answers. So, here's the game plan for today. We'll kick things off with national affairs and governance, then jump into some key insights from economy and business. After that, we'll take a look at global relations and then move on to environment and science. And to wrap it all up, we'll have a strategic takeaway designed to really sharpen your preparation. For every single topic we cover, we're going to use this exact UPSC methodology. First, the what. We get a solid understanding of the news event itself. Then we dig deeper with the why. What are the core issues and implications? And finally, the most critical step, the how. We connect it directly to your syllabus. You see, this three-step process is what turns just reading the news into a serious mark-scoring exercise. All right, let's get right into our first section, national affairs. We're going to look at three major developments, some really important debates happening in Parliament's winter session, a big change in party leadership, and a significant diplomatic tour that's shaping India's foreign policy. So what's happening in Parliament? The winter session is buzzing, and two critical pieces of legislation are on the table. First, a package of electoral reforms. These are aimed at making funding more transparent and, really importantly, strengthening the autonomy of the Election Commission. The second big item is a new rural employment bill, which is looking to significantly restructure our social safety net. Let's break down why both of these are so important from a constitutional and governance point of view. Now, this is where you, as an aspirant, need to pay close attention. Let's map this. For your mains, this is a core GS2 topic, right under polity and governance. And for prelims, the static links are high yield. We're talking Articles 324 to 329 on the Election Commission, and of course, the details of the Representation of People Act. This is a perfect example of how you have to actively connect what's happening today back to these foundational concepts. So, this leads us to the kind of analytical questions that UPSC wants you to tackle. For example, on electoral reforms, you might get something like, discuss the need for reforms in India to ensure the autonomy of the Election Commission. Or on the new bill, examine the challenges in balancing welfare schemes with fiscal sustainability. These are the kinds of potential 10 or 15 marker questions you should be prepping for right now. Okay, shifting gears from Parliament to party politics. We've got the appointment of Nitin Nabin as the BJP's working president. Now, this is way more than just a leadership shuffle. For your GS2 syllabus, you should see this as a live case study on the internal democracy of political parties. It could signal a generational shift, and it definitely points to a strategic focus on beefing up the party's organizational structure. Now, turning to the diplomatic front, the Prime Minister's three-nation tour covering Jordan, Ethiopia, and Oman is a major development. This fits right into India's broader Look West and Africa outreach policies. From a GS2 perspective, this isn't just about a few bilateral meetings. It's about securing our energy interests, engaging with the diaspora, and building security partnerships, all of which are key to enhancing India's strategic autonomy on the world stage. All right, let's move into our second section, economy and business, a really critical part of your GS Paper 3. Today, we're honing in on two big stories that are dominating the landscape, the volatility of the rupee and a major policy shift in the insurance sector. We start with this stark number. The Indian rupee has hit an all-time low of 90.75 against the US dollar. Now, for your GS3 paper, you need to understand this isn't just a market statistic. A falling rupee has real-world consequences. It means our import bill gets bigger, it fuels inflation, and it affects the price of pretty much everything, from the fuel in your car to the electronics you buy. So, what's behind this slide? Well, this slide breaks down the three main factors. First, we have sustained FPI outflows, which means foreign investors are pulling their money out. Second, crude oil prices are still high, and that widens our trade deficit. And third, you've got global factors, mainly a very strong US dollar. For your exam, you need to be able to explain how this perfect storm of factors is putting pressure on our economy. And this brings us to the central policy challenge. The risks are pretty clear. You've got imported inflation and serious pressure on our current account deficit. But you have to notice the RBI's stance here. The goal isn't to defend a specific number, like 90 rupees. No, the policy is to use our forex reserves for what they call calibrated intervention, to prevent crazy swings and excessive volatility. That distinction is so important for any mains answer on monetary policy. At the same time, the government is bringing in a new insurance bill. The big reform here is raising the cap on foreign direct investment, or FDI. Now, the stated goals are to attract more foreign capital, get insurance to more people across the country, and mobilize some of that long-term money for much-needed infrastructure projects. For your mains answer, though, you should also be thinking about the potential risks and the need for strong regulatory safeguards. Okay, let's broaden our lens now and shift our focus to global relations and security. What happens around the world has a direct impact on India's foreign policy and our internal security, so this is a super important area for both your GS2 and GS3 papers. A truly tragic incident has happened in Sydney, Australia. A shooting at Bondi Beach has been identified as a targeted anti-Semitic attack, and it has killed 16 people. From a security analysis perspective, this is a chilling example of the rising global trend of faith-based extremism and what we call lone wolf attacks. It really highlights how even stable liberal democracies are vulnerable. So how do you file this away for the exam? Well, as this slide shows, it's relevant for both GS2 under International Relations and GS3 under Internal Security. This is where you connect the event to broader concepts. A potential question could be something like, how can democracies combat the threat of lone wolf terrorism without compromising civil liberties? Make sure you're using keywords like extremism and social cohesion in your notes. And a couple of other quick but significant updates on the international front. First, there are India-Mexico tariff talks happening. You should see this as part of a larger strategic move towards trade diversification and South-South cooperation. And second, ISRO's upcoming commercial launch of the Bluebird 6 satellites. This just reinforces India's growing capabilities and reliability in the global space economy. Let's move on to our fourth section, Environment and Science, which is an absolute cornerstone of GS Paper 3. We'll be covering two major issues, the chronic problem of air pollution and a key report on biodiversity, plus a quick update on some homegrown tech innovation. And here we are again, as is now tragically familiar. The Delhi NCR region is facing another severe air pollution crisis. With the AQI well into the severe plus category, authorities have been forced to impose the strictest measures under the Graded Response Action Plan, or GRAP-IV. You have to understand this isn't just an environmental event anymore, it's an annual public health emergency and a massive governance challenge. And this is exactly how you need to frame it for your mains answers. The core issue, as we've highlighted on the slide, is that Delhi's air pollution represents a chronic governance failure. A probable question might be, why has Delhi's air pollution become a recurring governance failure? Discuss the structural challenges involved. This brings in all those complex issues of interstate coordination, the effectiveness of bodies like the CPCB, and how well the Air Act is actually being implemented. Two other quick updates in this section. First, a new monsoon forest report has come out, providing a critical data link between deforestation and changing rainfall patterns. That's a key point for any of your answers on climate adaptation. And second, successful clinical trials for an indigenous brain stent at AIMS. This is a huge step for the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, especially in the field of high-end medical technology. And finally, let's bring it all together in our strategic takeaway. Look, the ultimate skill in your UPSC preparation isn't just knowing the facts. It's about connecting the dots between events that seem totally unrelated, so you can understand the bigger conceptual themes at play. Let's just take today's sports news for a minute. You might see a headline about India winning the Squash World Cup, or the buzz around Lionel Messi's visit, and you might just skip right over it. But for a UPSC aspirant, that's a mistake. These are perfect contemporary examples of soft power, a key concept for GS Paper 2. It's all about a nation's ability to influence others through culture and attraction, not force. Using these fresh examples can add so much value to your answers on cultural diplomacy. So, to wrap it all up, what's the single thread connecting a falling rupee, Delhi's toxic air, and debates in parliaments? Well, as this slide summarizes, it's the overarching theme of governance challenges in a complex, modern world. We're seeing economic vulnerability, we're seeing environmental stress, and we're seeing the constant process of democratic recalibration. The kind of forward-looking answer that UPSC rewards will touch on the need for more resilient governance, better federal cooperation, and truly sustainable policies. Keep this conceptual framework in mind as you integrate today's news into your notes.